Let's get to our guest, because I'm excited about talking to our following guest. First of all, he's an American success story.
Absolutely.
When you think about where he grew up and how he grew up, on the other side of the tracks, as we would say, kind of where I grew up. Now, I know you grew up with a silver enchilada in your mouth, and so
chili.
or green chili. There you
That's
go.
right.
And so a little bit different for you, but for me, growing up in a modest home and seeing this person actually go into business, work hard, have some good values, and be a success story. And now, actually, he is representing our district. So tell us, Toby,
Well,
who's
ladies
here?
and gentlemen, we want to let you know that, John and I and the Hispano Chamber of Commerce and the Business Networking Channel, we have tried to always provide the most dynamic people of our time right now, and this is right in tap with that. We have a gentleman who comes from humble beginnings, has done his share of hard work, as they say, rolling up the sleeves and getting a little skin in the game, and has strong family values, and also has served his time to the military. And we're speaking none other than our Congressman Steve Pearce, serving the 2nd District of New Mexico. Congressman, thank you for being here.
Thanks. It's always good to be with you, and I look forward to it.
So as we get started, Congressman, we want to kind of give our audience and our members out there a little maybe historical aspect of it. Tell us a little bit about where you came from and some of the struggles that you met, but also get us to where you're going and how you're going to serve New Mexico as we move forward.
Okay. Well, I grew up in Hobbs. My father was a sharecropper when he graduated from high school, and I was the third of 3 kids. They couldn't make a living sharecropping, so they literally, Mom threw us in the back of the pickup and peeled out of the yard. Dad jumped in the back too, because she was finished with farming.
That's right.
And they drove towards New Mexico. They didn't know where they were going. The truck broke down at the state line. They hitchhiked 3 miles into Hobbs, and that's where I grew up. And so we had a small 5-acre farm that we lived on. Dad always wanted to continue that farming. And literally we sold vegetables down to Tootie's grocery store in town to kind of make ends meet. Dad was a roustabout in the oil field, but then we did that small farm. We had 6 kids. All of us went through college with 4-H, showing the animals at the fairs and things. And so when I'm out every day working in Congress, I'm thinking about my father, because he was as little connected politically. All he wanted was the government to stay out of his way and let him raise his family.
Absolutely.
And he didn't have aspirations to be rich or anything there. He just wanted to raise a decent family, teach us how to work hard, and between he and Mom, they did a great job, and all of us kids went to college. They knew the value of education. So,
Well, Congressman, I just want to bring into that. We live in Las Cruces here, where there's a lot of those values that I think over time, some people can say we've disconnected. To see the value that you just shared with your family, working, wanting to do something. We have now things where families are broken, the divorce rate happens, children are left without role models. So I think hearing your story truly can give the people in our audience that are out there to know that when you come from the strong tree or the root of the good family values, you have to look to help support those people that didn't have it. And I think they've seen you as a mentor and a role model, and that's something that I wanted to point out through your thing.
We appreciate it. People say, well, what about the young people? Well, all I can do with young people is bring them in close, let them see the political operations. I used to do that in our business. Bring young people out and let them see business firsthand, in the hopes that some of it would begin to stick and would give them interest in both the political business, also being a stable member of society, just going to work every day, paying your bills, going home and taking care of your family. Those are core values that many times our society kind of doesn't teach that piece.
Right.
And so kids are confused. They think there's something big out there waiting that they're supposed to be involved in, and the truth is, through the humility of serving our family and the church and the people around us, the community, that's where we find our strength as a country, not in things that we've gained or money or possessions. It's through these families. Strong families make strong individuals. Strong individuals make a strong country. It's actually fairly simple.
Again, when you came from humble beginnings, you worked hard, you connected with people who work hard.
Right.
And we cannot forget the fact that you did serve our country. And you served our country through the Vietnam War, and you were a pilot. Tell us a little bit about that experience and how that helped shape some of your values.
Actually, I was here at New Mexico State in 1967. I was starting my junior year. At that point, everyone was still required to do 2 years in ROTC. It was a requirement that this was the last school in the nation where it was mandatory. So I'd done my 2 years. They tried to get me to go into the advanced program. I did not want to go into the military. My dad had served just briefly, and so I opted out. Well, then in my junior year at the very beginning, I drew a very low draft number. That was when they started the lottery, and so I got a call from the draft board saying, we got to you very quick last year. Why don't you drive today to El Paso and take your physical? We're going to send you to Vietnam. I said, ma'am, I'm going places. I'm going to finish my degree and all this. And she said, you're going to places. You're going to Vietnam. And so I said, well, what about if I get on ROTC? And she said, you can stay in college if you do that. And so I went down and signed up, and then I got hit with the second thing. I had been frightened of flying my whole life. My brother, my oldest brother, Mike, he wanted to fly. I'd never liked the idea. And they told me the only slots we have are pilot slots. So I think it was God making me deal with my fear of going to war and my fear of flying. And as I didn't do it initially. She called back 24 hours later and said, "Did you get in that ROTC?" And I said, "Ma'am, you don't understand. They only need pilots because they're killing them." And she said, "That's okay, son. They're killing them on the ground too. Get down to El Paso." So I went back down. I said, "Will you give me a few more hours?" She said, "You better get it done. I'll drive with her personally."
Wow.
She thought I was stalling out, so I was just scared. Anyway, I went back to the ROTC building, signed up, and became a pilot, and loved it every minute. It was never in an airplane when I was worried, but it's just, again, life drives us into those areas where we might not go ourselves, and so I've always been a pretty willing participant.
Well, that's quite a recruiting message as far as like, oh God, you're going, they're killing the pilots, and that's tough. I mean, for a young person, so we appreciate what you did as far as serving our country. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight, Toby, is that Congressman, you're one of the few members of Congress that have been in combat. And so you understand what those men and women go through, how they put their lives literally on the line for us, and we appreciate what they do every single day for our country.
When I was in Vietnam, not one elected person ever said a word or ever came to see us or anything, and so I said that's a mistake I won't make. Went to Iraq 4 times my first 6 years, talking to the young men and women there who are putting their life on the line, saying thank you, and is there anything I can do for you? Right. And it's been truly a blessing to go and see them.
I appreciate that.
Congressman, we left at the break and we were talking a little bit about your time in the military and being a pilot and how that has also shaped some of your values and things that you've done. And then you bounced into running your own business. So we were talking a little bit about what you've done in small business and talk a little bit about the committees so that we can talk about this deficit that we've been having.
Okay, you bet. Yeah. All right. Well, my wife and I just were like everybody else in their mid to late 30s, kind of wondering what we were really going to do. We realized we didn't have a retirement of any kind built up. So we started thinking the only way we're going to get out of this mess, since we haven't invested 20 years in retirement, is to have our own business. And so literally went into a business, bought a small company with about 4 people in it. We grew it to over 50. And we held that until we got elected to Congress, got there. My wife and I split the management duties. We worked together every day. I mean, I never dreamed of having a marriage where I could be with my wife every day, all day long, and then we're together at night. We're best friends, husband, wife. It's just been a really good opportunity.
Sounds too good to be true here.
But it is, I've met Cynthia, or Mrs. Pearce,
yes, Cynthia.
And she's absolutely a wonderful lady, and for the type of job that you have, she's got to be a great support.
She is, and so we ran the business. She would watch the business itself and the books. I would go out in the field and we would do the work, hard oil field work, blue collar things, work down hole. And after 14 years, pretty successful, and we got to Congress, and you could feel the company turning sideways. And if a company's moving and turns sideways, it's like a car, it's going to roll upside down. Bad things are coming. And we just committed. She said, "I got to go home and run the business." I said, "No, ma'am, we don't do marriages away. Those are very bad things, and especially in Washington." I said, "What we'll do is we sell the business," and so we did. And so she's now involved in a very small piece of business with our son-in-law and our daughter, and they're doing good. But now that I'm pursuing full-time this business of U.S. Congress.
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, when you were talking about you just fold up your sleeves and get to work, we have so many people in Las Cruces and the surrounding community in New Mexico that are small business owners. And so I think for our members and our audience out there to have that really the pulse of your business background, to know that you've been in there at night pulling your hair out and saying, you know,
I did a lot more than you.
Well, I was just making a point. You know, things got to change, or something's got to happen. And,
Yes.
and when you're living a small business world life and you're looking for these things, the responsibility ultimately looks is in the mirror, looks right at you.
It does.
And
And
you have to
I
know
mean,
what you're doing.
I look at it as no-notice exams. You know, we always live and you have your value system. You're going to church every Sunday and you say, this is who I am. But all of a sudden, life will smack you with a no-notice exam, and you either pass it or you don't.
That's correct.
1999 to 2000, the price of oil fell from $20 to $6. Our revenues dropped 80%. We were at 20%. We had asked every person that worked for us to come work for us from a big company where they had fancy uniforms, big trucks. Our trucks were
Pensions
older.
back then?
Yeah, they had pensions. We didn't, and so everyone had come with us because they believed in us. They believed that we'd treat them fairly. And my wife and I looked at each other and said, we cannot lay these people off. Other companies laid off 75% of the workforce and gave 30% pay cuts. And I said, you know, if we give a pay cut, then they're going to lose their homes. So we brought our employees in and said, look, this could be 2 or 3 months, and we're just going to keep everybody on. Please just show up for work. We kept everybody at their pay level. Even truck drivers, we paid them 70 hours a week.
Wow.
Because they bought their houses based on 70 hours.
Sure.
A lot of overtime. And 11 months later, I told my wife, if it doesn't turn around, we're going to lose the company next month. And it just was like God was waiting for us to reach that point. The price went from 7 or 8 all the way to 20 immediately. We had the only team in place, and so for the next 6
capitalized
months,
on that.
we were able to make back what we had lost in 11 months previous.
Well, the market cycle I'm in my business, I know it very well. It comes and it goes, and you got to be prepared. And you can't be
No.
living on the hog. As my wife tells me all the time, some days we're having chicken, next days we're having feathers. So you choose what you want,
That's
and I
right.
say that's what it is.
It's Taco Bell feathers for you.
You know, Mike.
But it's the balance. It really is the balance where you can't overdo it, but you can't pull back. If you pull back,
Right.
you're not going to be
you
ready.
lose everything if you have no structure.
Any smart
But you're
business
also
person
blessed.
knows that.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
you're blessed to have survived it. There are a lot of business that didn't.
Did
And
not.
well,
Yeah,
there-
and so that's something that we really appreciate what you're doing, Congressman. And that's a balance of I would say regulation and incentives for business to grow, because
Well,
we've got to grow
It
some more
is,
jobs.
but I think most importantly for our members, we're looking to see the chart, so people can make this informed decisions. Call the congressman's office,
Right.
put your vote to work, and let's come together, discuss how we can solve this, because there's not a one size fits all, but we got to work together.
Yeah, this is not Democrat or Republican. This is American. Let's solve America. We can cross the political differences. We've got plenty of things we can disagree about later, but right now we need to come together and solve it.